Podcast.
I feel like the world is divided into really two groups of people when it comes to media. The demarcation point is about 40. The people over 40, when we were younger, our media was something that we kind of tolerated. It was what it was. There weren't a whole lot of options. And that's what we were used to. We didn't ask for anything else because we didn't know that anything else existed. You might have had something like a zine, specialty magazine, something that really hit for where you were. But even then, how specialty could it be? Because they're still going for a big demographic. They're making money based on ads. In order to print something, mail it, write it, do everything that it took to do a magazine, a newsletter, any other type of media, it had to be worth it for you. And it wasn't just magazines, it was radio, it was television. All media was that way. Now, people under 40, you guys came along when the internet was here. And some of the things that we were doing as far as getting media out to people had become cheaper. The first albums that I was doing, I was pressing CDs. The minimum was 1,000 units. And there was always a 10% overrun because the manufacturing process, it wasn't perfect. So they were losing 1 out of 10. You buy 1,100, you're going to end up with 1,000 or around 1,000. You need 2,000, do 2,200. You do 1 million, you do 1.1 million. That's just how it was. Now today, recording yourself, distributing yourself, so much easier. And it's been that way for a minute. That's why you got people under 40. They're used to something special. You can make money and sustain something reaching fewer people than you ever could in the past. I'm going to talk a little bit about that because right now we are in a situation where your podcast, you've got an opportunity. It's Build a Big Podcast, the marketing podcast for podcasters. I'm David Hooper. This podcast all about growing your podcast, getting more people to your podcast, making a podcast that people care about, making a podcast that makes you money. BigPodcast.com. That is the website. This is the audio edition of my weekly newsletter. It's called Big Podcast Insider. If you want that newsletter via email, it comes out every Friday morning, New York City time. You can get it at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. Don't worry about writing it down. I will remind you after everything that I talk about. And here's what I'm going to talk about. The power of podcasting. Get my wife back. The art of writing one-sentence podcast descriptions. How non-popular YouTubers helped Trump win a second term. That's right, we're going there. 100 plus Sausage Factory episode ideas. You don't know what the Sausage Factory is? Don't worry, I'll explain it. This will also work on your standard podcast. Grow your podcast free. You're doing it wrong. Here's something for the over 40-year-olds. You're in the grocery line checkout. All the magazines for women, Cosmopolitan for one. They've always got that headline. You're doing it wrong. Got to keep you on your toes. Yeah, you too, podcaster. You're doing it wrong. We're going to talk about that. But first, I'm going to let you know that this episode of Build a Big Podcast is brought to you by Riverside.fm. Speaking of things getting easier, Riverside is a virtual studio that makes recording and editing at the highest quality possible, accessible to anyone. So easy. You got a computer? Your co-host has a computer? Your guest has a computer? You're going to sound like you're in the same room, regardless of where you are in the world. You're going to look and sound your best? That's because Riverside records you and your guests locally, bypassing poor and unstable internet connections, giving you studio quality audio and video. You've heard a lot about AI. Is it taking over for podcasters? No, not yet. But it is helping us, and Riverside can help you with AI, including instant transcripts with 99% accuracy, also some automated audio and video editing, including social media clips that it can pull from your long-form content, chop them up, get them ready for you to publish. You can then take these clips, put them on social media, bring people into your podcast. What I'm talking about here is something that will let you record, edit, produce, and even market your podcast. I want you to try it for free. You can do that by going to riverside.fm. If you go there right now, they're going to give you a couple hours for free. That's enough for you to get an interview, maybe 2 interviews. Get in there, record, edit, use the marketing tools, see how you like it. If you do, I've got a discount code for you. That discount code gets you 15% off. The code, Big Podcast, BIGPODCAST. Go to riverside.fm right now. Get your free account. Check it out, see how you like it. And if you want to stick around, get a discount with the code Big Podcast, BIGPODCAST. All right, let's get to it. Going to go from thing to thing to thing, all of them about podcasting. At the end, there's a demarcation point that sounds like this. That is how you know if you want more information, if you want the links to everything that I'm talking about, You can go to newsletter.bigpodcast.com to do that. This is episode number 217. You ready? Here we go. The power of podcasting. Podcasters have a lot of influence. Just last week, there was a 17-year-old student armed with a handgun. He opened fire in a high school here in Nashville, where I am. He was in the cafeteria, shot 2 students. One is dead, then shot himself. He is dead. There's a lot to the story. It is very complicated. Why I am mentioning it here. Candace Owens, she's a Nashville-based podcaster, also a YouTuber. She was recently and temporarily suspended from YouTube for hate speech. She is credited in the shooter's diary as an inspiration. I bring this up to say that words are powerful. They can help people or they can hurt them. They can inspire them. And this school shooter arguably inspired, but is that the type of inspiration that you want coming from your words? That is my challenge for you as we move forward into the new year. What do you want people to do with your words? It's not just you talking into a mic. It is you connecting with people. It is you influencing people. You might not think you've got influence on people, but you do. I mentioned at the very beginning of this episode my career in the music industry. I cannot tell you how many people have come up to me over the years and said, I moved to Nashville because of you. They heard me on the radio. They came to the events that I was doing here. I used to own a very large music conference. Thousands of people would come to Nashville every year. Hundreds of bands would showcase at this event. 22 clubs, 5 nights, do the math. 40,000 people a night, about 2,500 people in the day. That's how big that it was. People would come to Nashville, have such a good time, they would see what it is that we do here. Oh man, I got to be part of this. That's the level of inspiration that I'm talking about. Now, it can get a whole lot deeper. It can get a whole lot darker, as we saw with this school shooter last week. You have that same power. How are you going to use it? Just think about it. I'm not sitting here preaching. All I'm saying is you have that power. You can help people or you can hurt them. If you are doing a podcast that's helpful, I want to hear more about it. I want to help you. I want to get the word out about it for you. You can reach out to me via Blue Sky. You want the link to do that? This is where you'll find it. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 217. Talk about Big Podcast AMP. This is one of the ways that I can help you. If you like the newsletter, if you like this podcast, you're going to love Big Podcast AMP. That's AMP. It stands for Audio Monetization Program. It's a personal coaching program that's going to help you do 3 things. 1, grow your podcast audience. 2, get people talking about your podcast. The third thing, get you making more money with your podcast and your podcasting skills. You may not know this, but since we've been talking a little bit about AI on this episode, AI is huge right now. They're putting a lot of money into it. And one of the things that people are doing with AI right now, or they're trying to, is get artificial intelligence to learn human emotion. And that comes from the words we speak, not the words we write. The words we write have no emotion. You can pattern match it and say, oh, okay, well, I think this guy was angry based on the other words that were before it and the words after it. These sound like angry words, but can it read emotion? I don't know. Anyway, my point is, there's a lot of that kind of work. These AI companies, they need the skills of podcasters. You want to learn more about that? I can help you with that and other things, mainly growing your own podcast. But if you got podcasting skills you want to use elsewhere, we're going to do that too. It's at bigpodcast.com/amp. That's bigpodcast.com/AMP. Get my wife back. Speaking of making money with your podcasting skills, this is a job for a podcaster or a video editor. It was posted to a freelancer site. I found it interesting for a couple of reasons. Let me read you what the guy says. He said, I'd like to make a video to get my wife back. I want it to be full of videos of her and us and our families together. I also want to talk to her and apologize during the video. I want to have an apology probably near the end of the video. I also want to talk and narrate us meeting. This is most likely going to be a bigger project than most videos. It might be 25 to 30 minutes long. We'd lot to unpack there. So let's do it. First thing I want to talk about is that it shows the perceived power and value of video. The perceived power in that this guy thinks that a video is going to get his wife back or help him with that. And the value in that he's willing to pay you to help him put that message together. The second thing, and that's the main reason I bring up this opportunity here, is that working on a project like this, regardless of how you feel about it, it would make for a great story for anybody who takes it on. Story, let's put that in quotes. That is what differentiates us. And if you're a podcaster and you're looking to make money with your podcast, your podcasting skills, live an interesting life. That is the number one thing that I can tell you to have a successful podcast. Live an interesting life. Because when you live an interesting life, when you leave your studio, leave behind your computer, go outside, talk to people, touch grass, have experiences, you can bring that back into the studio, bring that back behind your computer, and amplify that, broadcast it, distribute it. This would be a great story. Tell me about some of the projects you've worked on. Man, you'll never believe this. One time I was on a freelancer site. This guy was looking to take old video footage and help him put together a story for him to get his wife back. Did she come back? I don't know. I put it together and I was out of it by then. But if a guy's going to come to me with something that important, you can trust me with what's important to you. Good sales pitch, right? I've got the original ad linked. If you want to see this, you even want to get this job. If you do, let me know about it. I'll hook you up. Get my wife back. Check it out. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 217. The Art of Writing One-Sentence Podcast Descriptions. This is how word-of-mouth recommendations for podcasters usually work. First thing, a listener recalls your podcast when someone discusses a topic that your show covers. At that point, the listener casually mentions your podcast with the question, have you ever listened to Podcast X? Let's break down how that would work. Somebody's talking about dog training. That listener is going to say, oh yeah, have you ever heard of the dog podcast? Your podcast is now part of the conversation. The listener then dives into a brief description of the dog podcast, often with a single sentence. That's the third thing. And the fourth thing, if that description strikes a chord, the conversation about your podcast continues. Of course, if it doesn't, the conversation moves on to something else. Let's talk about the dog podcast. You heard of the dog podcast? No, I hadn't heard about that. You're going to love it. It's a podcast specifically about dogs who are having separation anxiety issues. Like we were just talking about? Yeah. Just like we're talking about. You're going to love it. Here it is. That's word of mouth for you. It is good for you to have a one-sentence description of your podcast. Maybe it's a subtitle. I do this all the time. It's the marketing podcast for podcasters. Well, tell me more about that. It's about making money with your podcast, getting people to your podcast, growing your podcast audience, making a podcast that makes your mother proud. You have that one sentence that sets the hook. It's a tripwire. And then more sentences about your podcast are spoken. I've got a link. You will find it at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 217. It shares an exact process that you can use to come up with one of these one-sentence descriptions for your podcast. Very powerful. Is it easy? Yeah, pretty easy. Yeah. You have to think a little bit about it, workshop it a bit, but at the end, you're going to have that one sentence, the marketing podcast for podcasters. You're going to have that thing that either works as a subtitle or a description of your podcast or both. How would you describe your podcast? Let me know. I'll help you workshop it. You can contact me via Blue Sky. Again, to do that, newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 217. How non-popular YouTubers helped Trump win a second term. Got some thoughts and analysis. Somebody looked at 2,000 videos on how podcasters like Joe Rogan, Logan Paul, how they turned young men who were once a demographic that wasn't really engaged with politics into a massively powerful voting bloc. These guys analyzed 1,300 hours of footage from these channels. They mapped out guest networks. They quantified the frequency of key political messages that were distributed to tens of millions of people every day. Even if you're not into politics, you're sick of it, I get it. But it is interesting to look at this in writing and say, okay, so this dude went in with a plan and he says A, B, and C on this podcast. And then he said A, B, and C on this podcast, and then said A, B, and C on this podcast. This is how messages are spread. And let me take it to the thing that I said at the very beginning of this. You've got a message that you're spreading. You've got influence. You've got power. You can influence people in a good way or influence people in a not so good way. You can hurt people or you can harm them. A podcast is agnostic. It doesn't have a dog in the fight, but it does have a dog. And that dog can bite you or that dog can do something helpful. Lick your face. Be your emotional support dog. I don't know. This is the message they found out when they analyzed these 1,300 hours of footage. The United States is in a dire situation, destabilized by soaring inflation, an influx of migrants crossing the border, and the onset of a third world war. Gender politics have spiraled out of control, while schools and the medical establishment have misled the public. Is that true? It is if you are somebody who never sets foot outside. You're always behind a computer. You live your life online. The people who leave the house have relationships, live life, have adventures, get to know people, touch grass. They are having a different experience. And ironically, those are the people that are inside living life behind their computers and on their phones and on their devices want to be like. They think that you, the person who goes outside, lives life, has adventures, has relationships, touches grass, knows something that they do not. That's why they trust you. There's a lot here to unpack. If you want to see this, all the analysis, the clips, some cool charts about how messages are spread, I've got this linked. It's at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 217. 100 plus Sausage Factory episode ideas. I record a Sausage Factory episode every single day. And a Sausage Factory episode is a test episode, really more of a practice than a test, of me working on skills, reading, improvising, thinking on my feet. Those are the three that I focus on. And if you are not doing this, I advise you to consider it. I've got a link on how to do that, newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 217. If you need ideas to inspire what you record, I've got 100 journaling ideas from day one. Do you know this app? It is a journaling app. They are trying to get people in the process of journaling. For the Sausage Factory podcast, you simply need something to talk about. And again, I want you to read, I want you to think on your feet, and I want you to improvise. It does not matter what you talk about, but you're trying to get better. So what you need to talk about needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. A story does that. These journal prompts work very well for doing that. I've got 100 of them, over 100 of them. And you can find them at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 217. Grow your podcast. Free. I got something for you to make sure that you don't end up this year with the same old podcast that you might have feel like you ended up with last year. Here's what you're going to learn. How to make a podcast that doesn't get ignored. How to attract raving fans to your podcast. How to make 10 times more money with your podcast. If you want to go bigger with your podcast, you want this. It is free. It is a course that I have put together. I've got it up on Udemy. I've got a link for you to get it for free. It's at newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 217. I did this because so many people ask me about Udemy. It's got a bad reputation. I got you. I was hesitant about putting something up there. I found a course on Audacity that changed how I feel about Udemy. I was like, oh, man, maybe there is some good stuff here, but you've got to dig. This thing that I've got for you, it is free and it's good. This is going to help you get your podcast together in a way that attracts people. It's not just you throwing random stuff out there. It's about how to do something systematically that people actually want. And if it goes away, they will miss. Again, it is free. There are no upsells. I've got a special link for you. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 217. Quick note on this. I don't know how long I'm going to keep this up there. Go to the link, newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 217. Get it now while you can. It's possible I might change it over to a paid product. Again, I'm doing some tests on Udemy. I want to see how it works. It is possible that I will take it down. Somebody told me this, and this is a hypothesis. I'm looking at it. He said, do not do Udemy. There are a bunch of freebie seekers on there. They are going to drive you crazy. I got to have firsthand experience. I've had too many people ask me about this platform. I'm happy to share the experiences that I have with you. So far, so good. I've been on there, I don't know, I think this happened last week that I launched it. So I got a couple weeks in. We'll see how it works. What I do know is this course on how to grow your podcast is there for free. I've got a direct link to it at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 217. You're doing it wrong. It's that critical mother. No. I don't want you to tell people that. There are a lot of new podcasters coming on this month. You may be one of them. If you see somebody coming online this month, making a new podcast and doing something wrong, let them know, but do it in a nice way. I've got that joke about a Blue Yeti. If you're ever feeling lonely, get on a podcasting forum, tell somebody you bought a Blue Yeti. Out of the woodwork, people come up, you suck, Blue Yeti sucks. That's the worst mic you could have gotten. Don't be that guy. Let me help people out, Teach them how to use a Blue Yeti. Once you build trust, suggest a better mic perhaps, but don't be that person who says, you're doing it wrong. A related story for you. I'm an audio first person. When I'm doing a remote interview, the camera is always off. However, sometimes I start sessions, the camera is on, say, hey, how you doing? All right, I'm going to cut it off so I can focus on what you're saying. You can focus on what I'm saying. I had a session where I got the guy on the line. It sounded like he was in a cave. I couldn't figure it out. He had a mic. I don't want to say it here. I've got it linked, newsletter.bigpodcast.com, because I don't want to badmouth the mic, but it looks like what we'll call an end address mic. You talk into the top of it. It wasn't. It was a side address mic. And this is talking into the top of it, meaning he's not using the mic correctly. So this mic, it's picking up all the reflections. It sounds like he's in a cave. I mentioned it to him. I said, hey, man, can you tap on your mic? Tap on the side there for me. Boom, 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 boom. It was definitely a side address mic. I let him know. I said, hey, your mic is picking up from the side. You're going to sound better if you can move around to the side. And he said, no, you're doing it wrong. He basically did that on me. He said, I've done hundreds of interviews like this and I've never had any complaints. Didn't want to change the position of the mic. I said, all right. Did a quick interview. In other words, asked a couple questions. All right, hey, got what I need. It sounded like balls. I didn't release it. I don't have time for somebody who's going to show up with the wrong mic, doesn't know how to use their equipment. It just doesn't work for me. I'm not saying this to be mean, but think about it for you as a host. Any host, you're preparing for an interview. You are showing up. You're doing the interview. Then you got to edit it, post-production, get it out. You're basing your reputation on anything you get out. And you got a guy who doesn't prepare. I mean, not really. He's done the work where you want to interview him. Who doesn't show up with a good mic, answers the questions all about him, blah, 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 doesn't talk into the mic correctly. He probably thinks he sounds great because you sound great and you're coming through his headphones. But he's not giving you what you need. Don't waste your time. That's not you being mean. That's you taking care of your audience. So why waste time on that? Why do anything less? Anyway, I got a funny joke about this. It is visual. You can see it at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 217. Thank you for listening to me. Looking forward to a new year with you. Got some great stuff coming up from Big Podcast, including Big Podcast AMP. We've talked about it. The audio monetization program. If you want more information about that, bigpodcast.com/AMP. That's how to work with me one-on-one. Also, if you're not subscribed to this podcast, never miss an episode. I've got all sorts of stuff about the podcasting industry, all of it tailored to you growing your audience, getting people to your podcast, making people care about your podcast, making a podcast that makes money, making a podcast that people would miss if it were to disappear. That's the worst. You shut down your podcast, you go away for a couple of weeks, crickets. Nobody cared. Oh, so disappointing. Don't have that happen. If you quit, let other people be disappointed. Let them miss you. I'll work with you to do that. Bigpodcast.com/AMP to do that one-on-one and to subscribe to the podcast, bigpodcast.com/subscribe. 3 buttons for you, one for iPhone, one for Android, one is an RSS feed. It's easy to subscribe. It is free every week, sometimes a couple times a week. I'm going to come to you with information to help you build a bigger podcast. That's how this podcast got its name. Build a big podcast. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next episode.